You are now listening to two dudes in their 30s with Adam and Graig. They're gonna talk about stuff, and you're gonna listen. Okay, got it. Good. Let's start the show. Hell yeah!
So what's going on, man?
Yeah, not too much. We got the dog surgery consult kind of figured out. She's going in a few weeks. Get this tumor removed, so my wife is ecstatic. Other than that,
Get that knocked out. Be done with it.
Yeah. Hopefully, it doesn't cost us like $1 bazillion.
Cool. Yeah, obviously that'd be nice to get out of there. I mean, little tiny dog surgery, never a good thing. Either way, you slice it. So no pun intended with regard to slice.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're back. We're back with another episode here, third episode. Two dudes in their 30s, excited to be able to do our first interview with some folks. So we'll get to that in a few seconds. But yeah, so weekend wise, we're on another Monday here. It's weird. I went to a bar for the first time in a long time the other night. I don't know, like when you have like two kids and you go out to a bar, I think it like totally changes your perspective on what that world is like. Maybe it's just me. I don't know, but I felt like I shouldn't have been there for some reason. Even though I had the full permission from the person that matters when it comes to these things, I just felt like I don't know. I felt a little out of place. So I don't know. You guys don't really go out a ton there, do you?
Once in a while, we going on like a little date here or there. There's a cool little place called Mr. Peabody's that's like a block away. We walk over there, have the dog out on the patio, and have some burgers and beers.
I guess that's one thing if Ashley's with me. But just going and meeting up with some friends, it was like a little, I don't know, like I just felt like I wasn't my scene anymore. So I kind of didn't know like necessarily how to react and hang in there. And it was like weird. I was kind of getting pulled into like a group of friends that was sort of with my friends. So sort of like to jump in and make those connections when you're kind of like on like 3 hours of sleep with the kids and feel like you're part of that conversation. It's kind of strange. Anyway, anything going on this week for you guys besides the dog?
No, not really, man. Just working and I don't know, get through life, get through the grind.
For sure. And you guys said you're staying out there now for a little while longer?
Yeah, we're
April, something like that?
April 17th so far. It's kind of like what it looks like.
So Teresa was able to extend the job, and then you're going to kind of figure it out from there? Or?
Yeah, probably head back, like slowly drive cross country, get to see a lot of, national parks and whatnot that we've been wanting to see. We have a wedding in early May in Rochester, New York, so kind of like stagger our time well across the country and yeah, be back for the wedding and maybe stay a little bit longer this time and come back into the swing of things of 9 to 5 life. We'll kind of see how that goes.
Yeah, are you guys still trying to decide what you want to do then? You don't know if you're going somewhere else next or just coming back this way?
Yeah, we're not sure in all honesty yet. Trying to figure the details out.
Still kind of figure it out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least if you came back in May, like it's not a horrible time to be coming back this way. So
yeah, been able to escape 2 winters and
yeah, that's super nice. So like we were saying, like we've been saying in the last couple of shows, we definitely wanted to get an opportunity to talk to some people, and we were fortunate enough to be able to do that. So Adam, do you want to kind of explain kind of what we did, and then we can kind of switch over to our chat?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I reached out to this really cool couple named Adam and Vanessa. They have a website called createwondr.com. There's no E in Wondr. But they're a really cool couple. They're kind of trying to make like a personal brand for themselves, traveling and exploring. They modified this Sprinter van to suit their needs. They live out of this van. It's got like solar power on the roof. Really beautiful inside. Tasteful decorations and everything, and kitchen, bedroom, kind of small little bathroom set up in it, and they're exploring all the way across Canada and into the U.S. right now, and kind of doing their thing, living their dream.
Yeah, we had a really good chat. Like I think we touched on a lot of different areas. Hopefully, if anybody's thinking about doing something like this yourself, or even just wondered about it, that you'll get some insight into people that are actually living it and doing it. You'll hear me try to figure out a way to ask the question about using the bathroom in there in a polite way and not really ask the question. And Adam on the other end was gracious enough to work through that with me and take that for me. So I appreciate that. So you'll hear a little bit of that. But yeah, it was just a cool, laid back, kind of fun conversation. We enjoyed a chance to chat with them. And so let's flip it to that conversation now, unless there's anything else you wanted to add at the beginning.
No, absolutely. They're a fun couple, good stories. So. For
sure, yeah. Let's turn it over to them. Again, you can find them at Create Wondr. The Wondr has no E, so it's Create and then WONDR, createwondr.com, and they have an Instagram page, and they're doing a YouTube video daily now with a lot of different things. So here's our conversation with Adam and Vanessa, and check it out.
We'll just kind of jump right in. We want to hear your guys' story and kind of like how did these experiences kind of get to where you're at right now?
So, you got two Adams here too, so that's going to be weird.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I first saw you guys, I think, on Derek and Hannah's channel. You guys were doing kind of a sprint review tour, and I dug in a little bit more into your guys' Instagram and your YouTube, and you guys just seemed like a really cool couple, traveling all across, it looks like Canada and the U.S.
Yep.
And my wife and I are currently like kind of doing something a little bit similar, but a different way. So we just wanted to hear kind of like, how did this idea kind of start, kind of your backgrounds, and just share your story. It's an interesting story. I think a lot of people will really connect with and find inspiring.
Okay. When we first started looking at living in a van, it was a few years ago. Mm-hmm. It took that long in order for us to get to the point where we could save up enough money, buy the van and convert it. Our backstory, I guess, is I grew up in Nova Scotia, Canada, and Vanessa grew up in a combination of Ontario and Saskatchewan. We both went to university and post-secondary. Vanessa went on to get her master's in environmental management. We ended up traveling across the country, both to check it out. This is Canada. Both check out different cities and for work opportunities. But we had to start over every couple of years. So every time you move, you have to buy new furniture, find a place to live, try to find a new job. And we liked the travel part of it, but we didn't like the, starting over, getting into more debt, consumer debt, and the whole rat race and chasing the carrot aspect of it.
We basically would move every 2 years. So we had a 2-year limit, not purposefully, but that's just how it worked out. So we had lived in, 4 or 5 different spots in 6 years. So it was getting very tiring doing that. And after we had moved from Vancouver Island to Halifax, we were like, we can't keep doing this. We don't really know where we want to be, where we want to settle down, but we like the idea of traveling around. So then we started looking into RVs and tiny homes and all that stuff, and figuring out what we could actually do. And we actually seriously looked at some larger RVs and where we would park it and how logistically that would work, and it just turned into sort of a nightmare. So then we were like, well, maybe we could build out a bus, because there's some really cool double-decker buses in Halifax. And then we were like, well, that's exactly the same thing as an RV. So it just started getting smaller and smaller, the vehicles that we were looking at. And then we ended up moving from Halifax to Thunder Bay because we had an opportunity to buy a house and flip it. So the van idea kind of went a bit on the back burner until we started getting into the renovation, and then seeing an end date there, and then we started really seriously planning for the van.
Nice. So like you guys bought a home, you guys renovated that and sold that, and I'm assuming like kind of the funds from that, or the money you guys made from that flip is kind of like you bought the van from that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it took us about 2 years, to do the renovations in the house. And the reason why it took us so long was we paid for everything, like all the material and labor with cash.
Awesome.
So we were, working a lot and renovating over that period of time. And then all of the, the profits, I guess, from that flip went to buying the van, outfitting it as a house, and then also setting aside money, for a later project, because eventually we do want to, own our own piece of land and maybe a little, a house and a homestead, as well. So it kind of made everything possible by just putting in that work over that couple of years, like really bearing down and just, focusing on that one goal of being, both debt-free and, having some money in the bank and being able to do what we really want to do.
Gotcha. So did you guys do the majority of the work yourself then on the van or the house? Are you just mechanically inclined, or you just like watch YouTube and like the rest of us and try to figure it out like along the way?
We did a bit of YouTube watching, but we
did pretty much all of the work in both the van and the house. There was a few things in the house that we didn't do. Like we did hire somebody to lay the hardwood floor down because it was just more efficient time-wise for someone else to do it than for us to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We did like all the tiling, all the other flooring,
cabinetry.
We did the cabinetry,
drywall painting, like pretty much everything else. And then as far as the van goes, we did everything in the van except the insulating, because again, it was more efficient both money and time-wise to like subcontract that out. But as far as like the paneling, cabinetry, counters, flooring, electrical, we did everything in the van.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
I will say though that my dad has been in the construction industry for 30 plus years. So, and he owns his own custom cabinetry business. So for the cabinets and things like that, we had his help. And then because he's been in the industry, he's sort of like a jack of all trades, and he was able to help us with plumbing and things like that for our house and for the van, and giving us advice and whatnot.
Cool.
Nice. What would you say kind of like would you be open to talk about like the cost of the build or not really?
Yeah, we can talk about the cost of the build, the house or the van.
For the van.
So we bought the van for 20,000 Canadian, and it cost us about 15,000 Canadian to build it out. Right. So we worked out the total, and I think it's about 22 to 28,000 US in total for like the van and the build.
But if you look at the pictures though, like of your Instagram, it's beautiful. It's like nicer in my opinion than a lot of like the Sprinter van conversions you can buy from like the factory.
Yeah, we were looking at, and we do get this question, is why not just buy an RV? And the way that we designed and built the van was to make it more cozy and feel more like a home than a traditional RV. Because if you buy an RV, they're very nice and, laid out nice maybe, but, they might have carpet or vinyl cabinets or, just funny little latches. So everything in this van was like the cabinets were built like a home, and the countertops, and we even have, the standard switches and plugs and USB plugins that you would see in a modern day home as well. So everything was built like in that fashion.
And also I would add that with our build, we thought about every single thing that was going into this and how we were going to use the space and the functionality of it, where I don't think that you really get that customizable aspect when you buy, an off-the-shelf sort of RV.
Exactly.
And like you said, you guys took your time, right? I mean, you took your time really in the planning of this, right?
We took a lot of time planning. We hammered down in the building. It only took us 2 months to build it, but it took us 5 months to plan it out.
Yeah.
Like what?
I love. Sorry, I got to cut you off, man. I got to just say real quick. I love the countertop. That is like sweet countertop. I want it in my house.
Well, it's a project that I wanted to do sometime, whether it was in a house or, in our van build. So it is, it's an 1.5 inch thick slab of ambrosia maple, which is just a different kind of maple. And we did 2 coats of clear epoxy on it. So basically it looks like those fancy like beer bars that you go to now that are epoxied on the top.
Really cool.
Yeah, so like I guess you could tell you took a lot of time planning this out, and you must have like been a dream for a long time. But like what kind of hopes and like ideas, expectations, kind of were you looking to get out of this experience?
I guess the biggest thing for us and what the van represented was time freedom. So before this, we were so busy and being like totally consumed by our jobs and the house renovation. And the van became, I guess, an obsession of like, this is going to create time freedom for us, the space to actually explore our interests, to travel, to see new places, meet new people, and have a lot of like really unique experiences that you don't really get when you're in a house permanently. So I would say that of our expectations, I think it's actually exceeded it, which is an amazing thing in and of itself.
Cool. You guys had talked a little bit about your education and background, and like I said, so part of this is kind of about work. And for our last episode, our second episode that's going to go up soon, is kind of about our backgrounds when it comes to work and like things we liked or haven't liked and sort of backgrounds. Obviously, this has allowed you guys to sort of shift away from that traditional 9 to 5, right? But like, what is your background in terms of like education and work? What have you guys done before? Do you see yourself going back to those things ever?
I have an undergrad in comparative religion.
Oh, wow.
I have a master's in environmental management, and I guess even the van was part of that escape from it, because I had a hard time finishing my master's, finding a work in my field. I actually did find work in my industry, but I was very much like underemployed, and it was almost impossible to move up the ladder. So then I ended up just going on my own and consulting out to bigger businesses, which worked for a bit, but it's still quite a rat race doing that, and it's not creative, and you're just your head down, grinding it out, looking for work.
And my background is, for university, I ended up going to human kinetics or kinesiology and sciences. I didn't finish that. I made it like halfway through before I was just tired of it. I wasn't that interested, and I didn't want to, pursue it beyond that if I knew that I wasn't going to be happy with it. So then I kind of just fell into trades after that, sort of by accident. And then my specialty became like drywall finishing and painting. I worked at that for 7 or 8 years before I opened my own business. So I worked for myself, and sometimes would pick up an employee or two. And yeah, I did that for the 2 or 3 years that we were in Ontario finishing the house. So that's kind of like my career path. And then I don't think I would ever go back to that full time, but I'm appreciative that I was able to pick up a lot of skills, that would help both with our renos, our van build, and then in the future if we ever wanted to build a house or help out a friend.
Yeah. The goal of doing this is really not to go back to what we were doing, is to create a new avenue, a new income avenue with Create Wondr.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's what we're putting like 100% of our energy into.
So it's kind of like creating that brand, that van brand, that personal brand, and kind of seeing where that goes, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we could never do that before, because all of our energy was focused into other aspects. So to be able to be creative, we just didn't have anything left over for that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, you really have to like distill your life down into like very specific, a small number of things in order to kind of get anything done. I think we're kind of finding out the same thing. Like for myself personally, I work a full-time regular job. I'm married. I have 2 kids under 3, and I'm trying to start this thing too. And so I have room for about 4 things in my life right now. And like, so I was up editing our second episode last night till like 1, and then my kid's up at 6. So it's like, there we are, and here we're talking again. So it's just kind of interesting to see how, and I think you really do have to take the leap, right? If you fully want to do it or commit to it or try to do it. It seems like that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah. We didn't want Create Wondr to just be a hobby for us. We wanted to be serious and take it serious and actually see if we can create something with it.
Yeah, and like out of the pie chart of the day, like you said, there's only so many focuses that you can have. And if it's split too many different ways, then something will suffer in the end, whether it's personal relationships or your career or your hobbies or other interests. So there's only so much time in the day, and we wanted to kind of refocus that pie chart, hopefully in our favor.
What would you say, like, some of the best experiences or the best things about this experience that you guys have had so far?
Well, just from a sheer travel aspect, we've seen lots of different places that normally I don't think we would ever see, because we're not working toward that 2-week or 1-week vacation a year. Even though we're working on the road and we still spend a lot of time, we're just in different places that we wouldn't have been able to see otherwise. So we've already covered a lot of Canada and good portions of the United States, and then we have opportunities to drive down to Central America or South America if we wanted. So yeah, travel wise, the sky's the limit.
We've also, I think, and this is maybe a surprising thing that we weren't really expecting, is meeting so many like-minded people. Like, we knew that they're out there, but whether or not we would connect with them or not was a different thing. And we've spent a fair amount of our trips actually with other people that are doing similar style adventures.
It's kind of interesting. Like, you're going to hop into a van with somebody and drive. It sort of seems like it might be an isolating thing, but it sounds like it's kind of turned into maybe the opposite.
Yeah, I guess in the last maybe 5 or 10 years, now that social media is such a focus and watching content online, then beyond your local community, now you have an online community. And even with you guys, you found us online through somebody else that's also living a more maybe alternative lifestyle. So that's a great opportunity to connect with people that you wouldn't have been able to 10 years ago.
For sure.
What would you say are some of the worst things about this experience so far? Like the things that you didn't expect that are a little bit more difficult or more challenging?
The most challenging part is if you end up traveling to different towns, every couple days, or even wild camping, is trying to find a secure and safe place to stay for the night. It's probably a daily thing, or every couple days you might be looking for that. So that's definitely one of the challenges for sure.
I would also say that something that we weren't expecting coming from Canada is we didn't really anticipate how chilly it would be here.
Right.
So we
not in California, but in the desert.
Yeah, looking from Canada, you think of Arizona and California just being 25 degrees every single day, or whatever that is, 72 degrees every single day. Beautiful. And it is a lot of the time, but in the desert, it's very cold at night, and we weren't expecting that, and that does make it a little bit challenging sometimes, and that's actually why we're back in LA right now, is because it was about 2 degrees Celsius. Minus,
trying to warm up a little bit.
-5 at night, and that is very chilly.
Yeah.
So you guys started in Canada, and was the plan always to come to the U.S. and sort of bounce around, or did you have a plan really when you started out?
The plan was to always come to the U.S.
Okay.
Yeah, and to come for the Canadian winter to escape that, hopefully, because neither of us have been outside of Canada in the wintertime for any, appreciable amount of time. So the plan was to always make it down here for, the 3 months, maybe November, December, January, even February. Yeah, 4 months. So, and then to make our way back up to Canada in late spring and summer to enjoy that. So,
yeah,
especially where Vanessa's from, like those two towns in northern Ontario and then Saskatoon, Saskatchewan can get brutally cold in the winter, like minus 40 Fahrenheit at times. Yeah, so it's nice to get away for a winter for sure.
It's funny, like I'm in upstate New York right now, so I'm in like near Albany, and it gets cold here. I mean, it gets negatives, whatever. But I think Wednesday it's supposed to be 70 degrees here, which is or no, Thursday. One of these days, yeah, it's supposed to be like 70 degrees Fahrenheit here. So I'm just like, it's kind of crazy for February. So maybe you guys are getting a nice warm stretch out there too. You're in LA right now, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you doing out there? Anything good that you've seen since you've been there?
Well, we have friends in Santa Monica. So using their place as a home base, and then we get to do little day trips and explore certain neighborhoods when we're with them. It takes the pressure off of like finding somewhere to park every day, or
yeah, because let's say here when you're visiting friends or family, they can give us a parking pass, and we haven't moved the van in 3 days.
Yeah.
So that affords us the chance to like not have to like clean up very well every day in order to travel, because whenever we're driving, everything has to be secure and put away and tidied up, so we can live more like a normal household, I guess, when it's still like that, and just go on adventures from here.
Yeah, I have to ask, like, my wife and I have thought about doing this and whatnot, but like personal hygiene has always been like one of her things, like her fears, like so I guess like from Vanessa's perspective, like has it been more difficult or challenging, like obviously going a few days or whatever between showers, or maybe you guys have kind of worked out some systems like gym memberships or something? Like, how do you guys deal with like all the ins and outs of like personal hygiene?
So we do have a gym membership with Planet Fitness, and that is a really great thing because they're across the country, and it's really cheap. It's $20 a month, and both of us get to go. So that's like the number one thing. And then we also have a little shower bag, which is like a little portable thing. We haven't used it yet, but really, I guess that's one thing that you have to get used to in the van is like you're not going to have a shower every single day. You just kind of get used to a little bit of
dirt or grunge. We are living in a van, so it's not the standard household or in a hotel or something. So
right.
we have gone 3 or 4 days without a shower.
Yeah.
But then it's something that you're not going to take for granted, I guess, because when we're staying at friends here and we can have a hot shower every day, then it just feels so amazing. You kind of forgot what it's like.
The other thing we do is we always have unscented, like organic baby wipes. So we just go to Costco and buy like a giant box of them, and really it sounds silly, but it's helpful with like a little wipe down shower at the end of the day, especially if you're gone out hiking and you don't have a shower that's close by. And then we do have water, so you can kind of give yourself a little bird bath.
Yeah. It's something, right? It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So I think for me, as I'm picturing this, like my biggest challenge, I think forever is like, I don't know. I'm a very finicky bathroom person. Not to get too personal on you, but like, I have a hard time leaving my house for the day, not knowing that I can come back and be like in my space for a little while. How do you get through that? Or do you guys just not? Are you guys not as? You're definitely probably not as finicky as I am about that. So I don't know. That would be super tough. Like just being able to like know that you have a place to go every day comfortably.
Right. Well, yeah. Like, do you mean us? I guess. Okay. Well, I'll just take a stab at that one.
That wasn't really a question, I guess. It was more of a comment. But.
Yeah, you were just telling us, like, how you are. But, okay, so we do have a composting toilet in the van here, and what it does basically is separate our number 1 from our number 2. We use wood shavings, kind of like a standard composting toilet, and then that would get emptied every, 2 or 3 days, or whenever you want to. As far as like privacy in the van, if we feel like we need some privacy, then the other person would just go take our dog for a walk or, step outside the van to get like your own personal space. And I think whenever like we were heading into this, you just have to be like more patient and open-minded, saying, you know, we are going to be in tight quarters for most of the time, and like just be okay with that, and then also allow the other person to have like just beyond the whole like, you know, bathroom thing, like just, you know, giving each other the opportunity to have their alone time, you know, and yeah.
Like we sometimes, if we want our own space
Mm-hmm.
and we're stuck in the van, then like I might go on the bed and read, and Adam might go in the front seat and read, or go for a walk or something.
Yeah.
Somehow that lack of a question for me actually segued into the next thing, so it worked somehow.
Yeah.
So one thing I was going to ask is, you guys are married, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
And how long you been married?
8.5 years.
Oh wow, nice, congrats. So, you know, for me, the only thing I can sort of relate it to is like a sort of a, I don't know, it's a big thing in life to change and kind of be in those kind of close quarters, as you mentioned, and you sort of mentioned personal space. Like for me, when the kids entered our lives, like that definitely altered the marriage, and we had to like work through things and work out things. I'm wondering, like from a marriage perspective, have there been challenges, or have there just been things that you guys have had to sort of work through, being in such close quarters and not going to work every day and then coming home and sort of seeing each other? Like, has that affected anything, changed anything, made things better, stronger? Just curious kind of what your perspective on that is.
Mm-hmm. We never, before living in the van, we never had an issue with like personal space, or like we want to spend a lot of time with each other. And if we didn't, like our lifestyle now would not work at all. So yeah, like I think like being married or being with a consistent partner for that long, you just have to be flexible. Yeah, with your space, and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that we're both of us really, I guess, thrive on a closeness. So that was not really an issue when we moved into the van. The only thing that we've had to really work through is now we're focusing on building our business together. So there's like things that are like, okay, these are things that I want to do, and these are things that I don't really enjoy doing, and finding the balance there.
Mm-hmm.
So that is like really, it's not really to do with the van, but it's related to the van in that the business is what it is because we're in the van.
Right.
So like you guys obviously are living together, you're now starting a business together. What kind of like monthly budget and things would you guys say you kind of shoot for, or are spending?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if we've like crunched numbers specifically on a monthly budget. What we're trying to taper back on is eating out, and it sounds crazy because you think you would just cook all your own food in the van, but whenever you're traveling to a new town or a new city, if you're a foodie and you like going out, then it's a whole new town. So you could just every day you could go crazy and eat out. And when we were in LA, there's every kind of restaurant that you can imagine, because we were here maybe a couple months ago, and I think we ate out every single day. So as far as like a budget goes, we're trying to taper back on things like that. We're also trying to take our time a little bit more like for the travel, so not use as much gas by taking long days driving. Yeah, anything else, Vanessa, budget wise? Yeah, like a lot of our bills and utilities are very low because the van is paid for, so we just have like our basic insurance and registration, and like our monthly costs are so much lower living in the van compared to living in a house or renting.
Yeah.
So.
One of the things I was going to actually ask you guys too, like, and I think people might wonder, like, what about money? I mean, obviously, you're trying to build the brand, and you're doing the YouTube and the Instagram and kind of doing those things. But any other forms of income? Or are you kind of just working off of savings at this point, and then trying to kind of build up the brand at this point as well?
Yeah, we've set aside money to do this, so we're living off those savings, and then we're building our brand.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You guys had mentioned the food. I saw on Instagram that you were in New Orleans recently. I guess overall, what did you think of New Orleans and the vibe? I was there last year, so I'm just curious.
Right. We're not bar goers. We used to be. Like when I was 20 or 21, it would be, if we were in New Orleans, it would be a different kind of trip, I guess. But as far as like the history, like going down to the French Quarter and the Garden District and like those places, it was amazing. And we had a friend that's been living there for a year. She's Canadian, but yeah, she's been there. So she was able to take us around and not just show us like the overly tourist things, like just kind of like the everyday life and what real New Orleans, I guess, is all about. You know, even we were there a few weeks before Mardi Gras, but we didn't even know there was so much build up to it and a lot of like local, parades or different walks that people do. So being able to experience all of that was really nice, and not just doing like the bar scene. A couple nights we did go down, listen to some live jazz, and got that experience as well. So I think it was good that we weren't young going there, because it would just be all partying and not like the whole breadth of New Orleans.
I kind of was thinking the same thing. Like I was actually there for a conference, but I did Bourbon Street for about 20 minutes, and that was plenty for me.
Yeah.
I don't really like having to defend myself from people wanting to like or tell me my fortune or give me beads or anything like that. Not my style at all. But like I definitely did do like some of the cliche food stuff. Did Cafe Du Monde, went to Emerald's, did all that stuff. So I would go back for that. But just it's kind of it's interesting. It's got like a ton of history. To me, it's pretty gritty though. It's got some grime to it for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Some stories.
Oh yeah, like the roads are awful, and like that's not. People in New Orleans wouldn't take offense to that, because they like thrive on the idea that their like roads and sidewalks are awful, and they make jokes about it, and there's definitely some grime there. But I think that's the whole charm of the city, that and a lot of people that we met didn't grow up in New Orleans. It seems like there's a large influx of people that come from elsewhere, but they're just attracted to that vibrancy, that history. Yeah.
Cool.
Would you guys like recommend like other people like to, I don't know, like check out certain spots, certain locations that you visited so far? Is there anything that's more memorable than other places?
Well, for sure. Yeah. Like naturally.
I think like Sedona is definitely one of the top places that we've been to.
So far, yeah.
Scenically, it is gorgeous. Everywhere you look, you're just wowed by these amazing red rocks. And then,
like the redwood forest.
The redwood forest
is beautiful. We took, like when we drove from Canada, we did the Pacific Coast Highway, so like the number 1, pretty much the whole way down. So it can be a little nerve-wracking at times, because you're switchbacking down mountains and you're on the coast. But it's probably the most beautiful drive that I've ever done, because you're going through parts of the redwood forest. You're seeing Big Sur. You drop down like in Ventura and Santa Barbara, like just north of LA too, which are all beautiful towns. And it's amazing.
Have you gotten down to San Diego yet?
We did for like a day, but I think Vanessa was so excited to go to like Joshua Tree and Mojave, which we've been to now. And like, I think a lot of people from California do take like the weekend trip out to Joshua Tree to see it. So we didn't do San Diego as long as we should have, because we were just like pumped to go to the desert for some reason.
Also, I think we were a bit overwhelmed, because when we were down in LA the first time, we had only been on the road for a little bit. And so we weren't used to like finding stealth camping and things like that, because we had been mostly in like smaller communities in like Northern California. And then we came to Santa Monica and we were with our friends, so that was easy. And then we went down to San Diego, and it was just like, it was just too overwhelming for us. So then we hightailed it out of there.
Adam, any advice?
Oh man, if you do come down this way, let me know. I'll take you out to dinner or whatever. We can catch up a little bit. But yeah, the five is insane. I avoided it at all costs, so I understand you completely.
Yeah, I think like after this, we're heading back into Arizona, because my dad's going to come down and visit us. And then we'll probably end up coming back to LA area and maybe going down to Encinitas and San Diego and stuff later on. So.
Yeah, and we definitely, like, when we're heading back up to Canada, we're going to see, we're going to go to Yosemite, Death Valley, Lake Tahoe, Sequoia National Forest, like all of these amazing things. Like anybody that's from California, we're just so jealous that people grew up here and maybe they take it for granted and not go out and see this stuff. But it's like, everything is packed into California. There's so many parks, like national parks and wildlife refuges. Like, it's amazing.
The landscape is so varied. I think that's one of the coolest things about it. And it's warm.
Yeah.
When we got to California, we're like, we cannot believe people actually live here, because at home it was, there was like 2 feet of snow and you're freezing your butt off.
That's awesome. So, like, for anyone that might be interested in doing this, is there recommendations you would give them, like, to kind of formulate their ideas and plans and vision into, like, actually doing it?
Yeah, I think for us, we try not to get overwhelmed by the end goal of, like, selling a house or, moving into a van. We just took a lot of, we call them small actionable steps in order to achieve your ultimate goal. So you're not going to move into a van overnight. Like, for us, it was, saving money, renovating the house, researching and planning.
Figuring out what vehicle would be the best vehicle for us.
Yeah, and also just, like, not being afraid to ask questions and talk to people that are already living this type of lifestyle. So we reached out to lots of different people that were already either living in a van or a tiny house or have done something a little bit outside the box. And yeah, we got lots of great advice and then took all of those small steps in order to lead to our ultimate goal.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just a couple other quick things. So, any crazy road stories? Any massive mishaps at this point? Has everything been pretty chill for the most part?
Things have been more chill for us. Like in New Orleans, we broke down for a night. So, like, as far as like maintenance and stuff goes, like, our main belt shredded. So I lost, like, power steering while I was on a busy street in, like, rush hour, and then had to, like, pull the van off to the side, and we had to just stay there overnight. And then we had our tow truck guy was awesome, but it was his first time with, like, the big flatbed, which didn't, like, evoke confidence. He's like, "Oh yeah, I got you," and, like, we're like, "Okay, I hope so." So
fall off the side of this thing.
Yeah, and, like, the Sprinter van is big enough that you need, like, a pretty big flatbed for it. And in New Orleans, since all of the trees are so old and gnarly, they're only, they hang down, like, only like 12 or 13 feet above the pavement. So we were missing just by a few inches some of the telephone lines and the trees. So he had to almost stop and, like, look out the window and make sure that he could actually tow us to our garage.
Well, that's the most nerve-wracking thing that has happened so far in our trip.
Oh, well, and then if you drive in San Francisco in a bigger vehicle, it's just awful because we're not used to a 25 or 30% grade on a street. So, like, if anything let go in the van, I would take out 5 cars behind me because the van would just roll backwards for probably 3 or 4 streets. Yeah. So I was sweating and, like, breathing pretty heavy until we got, like, up above the hill, like, into downtown.
Because we just GPS, like, how to get to some cafe or something.
Yeah.
And we were coming in to San Francisco, and GPS lady is like, "Oh, turn left here." So then we just go up that street. We stopped her.
Yeah.
And it was I think it was, like, the second steepest street in San Francisco that she took us up, which was an awful idea. So, and it's a long road.
I can feel, like, my heart starting to pick up right now. That was, like, my worst nightmare is those car experiences where, like, you get a workout by the end of the trip because you've been pumping so hard for that whole time. Like, I think the only time I've ever experienced it is, like, in bad snow or whatever, like, around here when you're trying to get from, like, A to B. But yeah, those are never fun.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, just like mountain driving, like, we have to take it a lot slower because it's a bigger vehicle. So, like, one of our latches did let go because the fridge is so heavy for the fridge pull-out. We ended up having to buy, like, little rubber wedges to put under it. But, like, when you come around a hairpin turn at, like, a decent speed coming off a mountain, then the fridge, like, flew out or whatever and, like, slammed into the side door or something like that. So Vanessa has to, like, get out of her chair and, like, go back and hold it while we're coming down the mountain or something.
Then, like, holding the fridge in place and sort of, like, surfing in the back of the van.
But that's, like, just stuff like that, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. What do you guys do? Like, you do a ton with social media, with YouTube and Instagram and those type of things. So are you just, like, hopping into different places where you can get on Wi-Fi to do this kind of stuff? Or how are you kind of working that all out?
Yeah, so as Canadians, it's hard for us to get like a contract with a cell phone. So we're just kind of like more on a month-to-month with our cell phone.
Mhm.
So the service is good, but then for us to like do a hotspot or tether to the computer slows it down quite a bit. So we do like cafes a lot, and we do like a lot of free Wi-Fi spots as much as we can. We just started uploading to YouTube every day, so that definitely is a challenge. Like I know why people that are mobile don't upload that often, because we have to find good internet or good Wi-Fi like every single day for a few hours.
It's just the pressure to like stay consistent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been spending a lot of time at Starbucks.
Yeah. Yeah, and good Wi-Fi. And like we're the type of people too that feel bad about like just going in and like sitting down and not buying anything. So yeah. We also like try to park outside of places and use their Wi-Fi, you know, buy a drink maybe and just like stay in the van and use Wi-Fi. So
A
Nice.
hard thing, I guess, would be like we would much prefer going to like local cafes and stuff, but we found is that like Starbucks, we know that it's a reliable internet no matter where we are,
Mhm.
and so that, I mean, in a sense, forces us to go there because we don't
Yeah.
want to waste our time going to like a local cafe and then the internet not be great.
yeah. Sorry, local cafes.
It's all good. One other thing that popped into my head that I was kind of thinking about as we were sort of planning this conversation is the idea of sort of that feeling of like expectation or pressure or sort of kind of living up to that. And I guess what I mean is, you know, that personal pressure or maybe even family pressure to say like, should you be just like settling down and working a job and doing that thing like what people typically do, or should you go out and try to do something on your own like this? And I know for me, if I ever tried to start something like this, I would feel that like pressure probably from myself and definitely from my parents for sure to say like, what are you, crazy? So have you guys sort of dealt with that at all, either personally or from family, and sort of how have you worked through that?
Yeah.
Definitely
Both of us have, for sure. More so on my end. And I think, like, in a general sense, a lot of people feel external expectations from your friends and family, whether it's there or not. I think with our generation, like our parents, let's say if they're in their 50s or getting into their 60s, traditionally, I think it was more about security. And the goal was to, you know, have a nice house, have a steady job with a good pension for 30 years, you know, have that security, have a couple of kids. And I think the way it is now is that there's just so many different opportunities, whether it's different kinds of jobs or, you know, ways that you can go that...
Making money online, like that was not a thing
Right.
20 years ago.
Yeah, like our parents or Vanessa's grandparents, let's say, like wouldn't understand even how that worked because they worked, you know, a job, the same job for 30 years
Yeah.
and did that. So even like, you know, having kids a little bit later in life, or, you know, Vanessa and I eat a vegan diet. So years ago, what was it, 6 or 7 years ago, like trying to explain that to people was also like difficult. So.
I think we've done a lot of things in our lives where our family has been like, why would you do that? Like, it's so different than the norm. Like Adam said, we went vegan, and that was like a huge issue for a lot of people to kind of adjust to it, even though it didn't really have anything to do with them.
Yeah, and in their defense, like, it comes from a place of love, I think, originally. But then you might, like Vanessa and I or somebody else might hear that and say, well, you're just trying to push your certain expectations or certain, you know, view of us, you know, onto us. So we, yeah, it can come across as like a miscommunication, but I think it starts at like a good place.
Yeah.
From a good place.
Yeah. So I have one more question for you guys. I don't know if Greg does or not, but like, what do you think the next year kind of looks for you guys? Like, what is that going to kind of look like?
Well, we're going to go back up to Canada for the summer. And the only thing that we actually have planned is a family reunion in Nova Scotia at the beginning of August. So we'll be back there for then. And then after that, we're thinking of coming back and doing the east coast of the States and doing that in the fall.
Yeah, New England in the fall.
Yeah.
So that's like our travel plan. And then, you know, continue to grow the business, you know, meet new people and reach out and just kind of like grab onto, you know, any opportunity that comes our way. Because I think, if we're heading down this path that we're more passionate about and, exploring our creativity, then those opportunities will, come our way. And
yeah, and like for the business, we're just going to keep doing a video a day, and I think we'll divert our attention a little bit from just van-related focus and start doing some travel-style vlog stuff, but we want to keep the van as like a major focus of our content.
Yeah, and like when we first started this, to decide it's not in my realm at all, my sphere, to like post to Instagram or caption.
Tell me about it. It's hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, like I don't understand that game yet, so
drive me nuts.
Yeah, like I guess our goal is to always just add value to people's lives, and that can be in different forms. So like right now for us, it's more information and education about like how you can like live in a van or travel, full time, and then that might morph into more entertainment or different things. So as long as we're adding value to people and they appreciate what we're putting out, then we'll continue to do that all the time.
Great. Well, thank you guys again for joining us. We appreciate it. Where can everybody find you so that they can check you out?
They can find us at YouTube and Instagram, and it's Create Wondr, and Wondr is spelled without an E, so it's WONDR. So all of our social media is branded Create Wondr, and our website's www.createwondr.com.
Awesome. Hey, guys, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. You guys are awesome people, and we're really glad that you shared your story and your insight, to people listening.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for reaching out.
Yeah, and good luck with your guys' podcast as well. I know that Vanessa and I have our podcast list that we listen to, and it lends itself nice for us to be able to listen to something. So we'll definitely check out all your guys' content when it gets put up.
Appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Good luck down the road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Yeah, I just want to thank Adam and Vanessa again for the interview. Great couple, doing really incredible things. If you want to check them out again, any of their social media accounts, they're all linked to createwondr.com. It's WONDR.
So yeah, check out createwondr.com on the Facebook, YouTube, Create Wondr, and Instagram as well. Follow them for their daily videos and their adventures in the van. That was, like you said, that was a fun conversation. We had a good time talking to them. So thanks everybody again for listening. We really appreciate you checking out the show again. We're super psyched to be able to interview somebody and talk through some things, and we're hoping to continue to kind of keep that rolling. So like Adam said in the first couple episodes, if you know of somebody that has an interesting story, if you have an interesting story, something to tell, we'd love to hear from you. You can hit us up on all the socials at 2dudes30. We're also at 2dudes30@gmail.com if you want to shoot an email to us. Please, if you like what you hear, go ahead and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. It'd mean a lot to us. Tell a friend if you're interested in what you're hearing so far. And again, we really appreciate you checking us out. So anything else, Adam? We good?
Yeah, that sounds awesome, man. Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, everybody. Again, we appreciate it. We'll catch you again next week, as always. We're gonna wrap it up with Enigmatic Heart. It's Enigmatic Heart NY on Facebook. This one's always alive. We'll check you next week, man. Later.